Hello, welcome to another video. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing story. True God in Another Worlds, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 50 Team Fighting Class PT.2 Rimuru POV. Sparks flew like miniature fireworks in the air as our blades clashed with a symphony of metal on metal. The clang of swords rang out through the training grounds, filling the air with a thrilling intensity. Lily's eyes, bright with focus and determination, locked onto mine as she moves with grace and precision. I raised my sword in a sideways strike. The blade caught the light and sending sparks flying as Lily anticipated my move and gracefully dodged to the left. She launched a rapid series of counterattacks, each strike calculated and swift, forcing me to react with quick parries and blocks. As we danced around each other in a deadly game of skill and strategy, I couldn't help but be impressed by Lily's prowess. Her movements flowed like a river, her strikes delivered with a precision that defied her young age and spoke of millions of hours dedicated to honing her craft. "Did Seal teach you this?" I asked, momentarily thrown off guard by her unexpected proficiency with a sword. My training with her had focused on hand-to-hand combat and dagger skills. A sly smirk crossed Lily's face. "Yes, she did," she replied, her voice filled with determination and excitement. "But I wanted to surprise you, so I kept it a secret until now." "Well, you certainly have succeeded in that, I admit," admire shining in my eyes. "But there's always room for improvement." With a nod of agreement, Lily's expression turned serious. "I know, and I am willing to work hard to get better. I want to be as skilled as you one day. Although I know that this is next to impossible." Lily chuckled as she spoke. I smiled, proud of her determination and drive to improve. "Nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it, Lily. With hard work and practice, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to." "Now shall we continue?" I asked, raising my sword once again. Lily nodded eagerly, her determination shining through her eyes. "Yes, let's continue," she said, ready to face the challenge head-on. Without giving me much time, Lily launched herself at me, and she was fast for a conjurer, very fast. Her speed and agility took me by surprise, but I quickly regained my focus and engaged in the fierce battle once more. The clash of our swords reverberated through the air, creating a symphony of metallic echoes. We engaged in a deadly dance, our movements a flurry of precision and skill. With every strike, I matched Lily blow for blow, our blades locked in a fierce struggle. As our duel intensified, I caught glimpses of wind mana swirling around Lily's hands, a telltale sign that she was preparing a spell. Recognizing the imminent danger, I swiftly evaded her attack, narrowly evading the grasp of her conjured spell. Capitalizing on the momentary opening, I tapped into the elemental forces at my disposal, manipulating the very air around me to create razor-sharp blades. With a swift motion, I hurled them towards Lily, hoping to catch her off guard. However, Lily's reflexes remained as sharp as ever. She conjured a formidable barrier of wind, its transparent shield deflecting my assault effortlessly. Undeterred, I pressed on, determined to find a way to penetrate her defenses. I channeled wind mana into my sword, infusing it with additional power as I closed in on Lily once more. But she anticipated my move with uncanny intuition. She countered my attack by conjuring a sudden gust of wind, throwing me off balance and halting my momentum. I fought to regain my footing while dodging a barrage of water balls that Lily conjured, each one narrowly missing its mark. I conjured a swirling tornado of wind and water, directing it towards Lily with elemental force. The tornado roared towards her, and I could see the surprise flicker in her eyes before she swiftly conjured a shield of wind to protect herself. The tornado collided with Lily's barrier, its unyielding force pushing against the limits of her magical defense. Nevertheless, she stood firm, her unwavering determination visible despite the strain on her face. As the wind and water gradually subsided, leaving behind a temporary calm, I seized the opportunity to catch my breath and prepare for the next phase of our battle. Lily wiped the sweat from her brow, her expression reflecting a mix of weariness and resolve. She closed her eyes, centering herself and harnessing the depths of her magical prowess. The wind and water mana danced around her outstretched hand, coalescing into a tempest of crackling energy. Her hair whipped around her face, stirred by the cyclonic forces she commanded. I waited for her to finish though, I wanted to see what spell she was going to use. With a surge of power, Lily unleashed the formidable tornado with a grand gesture, propelling it towards me at alarming velocity. I braced myself, preparing to defend against the impending onslaught. But just as the swirling vortex was about to strike, something strange happened. The whole atmosphere seemed to shift in an instant, as if reality itself was playing tricks on me. Colors faded away, leaving everything in a dreary monochrome. The once intense sounds of battle were swallowed by an eerie silence. Time slowed down to a crawl, as if some invisible force had frozen it in place. It was all so confusing, and I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. I looked around, trying to make sense of what happened, and then it hit me, literally. I still remember this feeling. It was when Sylvia used her ability to stop the time. But there was someone else who could pull off that trick too, Arthur. With a sinking feeling in my gut, I knew I had to find my brother. If he was using his will, that could only mean trouble. I quickly darted my eyes around, searching for any sign of Arthur amidst the frozen chaos. And there he was, charging straight at Tess with a look of fierce determination on his face. Meanwhile, Curtis was getting ready to unleash some serious mana beam action, his attack primed and ready to go. I berated myself for becoming so engrossed in my battle with Lily that I hadn't noticed the danger brewing all around me. Time was of the essence, and I knew I had to act fast. But man, this was going to be one tough challenge. Lilia Helsta Pav. No. Professor Glory's anguished cry tore through the air, shattering my concentration on Rimuru. Startled, I whipped my head around, my eyes widening with alarm as I beheld the sight of the professor hurtling towards Tess and Curtis. Her face contorted with a potent mix of fear and concern. My frantic gaze darted back to the spot where Ree had stood just moments before, but my heart sank as the dust settled, revealing no trace of his presence. Panic surged through me, coursing like wildfire as I scanned the chaotic scene, desperately searching for any sign of him amidst the turmoil. Then, a sight seized my attention, causing my heart to skip a beat. Tessia lay sprawled on the ground, her body limp and unconscious, while Arthur, also unconscious, clung to her protectively, his back scorched with visible burns. And there, standing just a short distance away from them, stood Rimuru. His left hand stretched out before him, bearing the unmistakable marks of burns and frostbite. Amidst the cacophony of chaos and confusion, a singular burning question consumed my thoughts. How had Rimuru and Arthur managed to position themselves in front of Tessia, shielding her from harm? I pushed the thought aside, knowing that there would be time to ponder it later. For now, my priority lay in checking on them, ensuring their well-being in the aftermath of this cataclysmic event. I hastened toward Rimuru, my heart pounding in my chest like a thunderous drumbeat, my legs propelling me forward with a sense of urgency. "Rimuru, are you okay?" I asked, the words laced with genuine concern and a touch of trepidation. The sight of his hand, charred and ravaged, tugged at my heartstrings, aching at the sight of him in such pain. He mustered a feeble smile, attempting to reassure me. "Don't worry about me. It's just a minor injury," he replied, though his words came out strained, betraying the pain he was enduring. His unwavering resilience in the face of such agony both amazed and troubled me. Claire approached us, her eyes wide with anxiety as she gestured toward Rimuru's burned hand. "Seriously, how can you call this a minor injury? Your hand is practically charred," she exclaimed, her voice brimming with urgency and genuine concern. "Brothers." Ellie's voice cut through the air, her heart pounding with worry and fear as she sprinted towards us. Her eyes widened, brimming with anxiety, as she urgently demanded, "Are my brothers okay?" I extended my hand gently, placing it against Ellie's trembling head, feeling the quivers coursing through her. "Don't worry, Ellie. They will be fine," I reassured her, attempting to infuse my voice with as much confidence as I could muster. Sylvie approached Ree, her countenance filled with genuine concern. They exchanged silent communication, their expressions subtly shifting in a wordless conversation. Suddenly, Ree shook his head with a disapproving gaze, his eyelids fluttering before he slumped into my waiting arm. "Are you certain you're all right, Rimuru?" I inquired, tenderly cradling his head against my shoulder, my heart heavy with worry. A faint chuckle escaped Ree's lips, and I couldn't help but reciprocate with a warm smile. "You worry far too much, Lily," he replied, his voice still faint but brimming with affection. "I promise, I will be fine." I playfully rolled my eyes in response to his comment. "Well, when you appear as you do now, it's rather challenging not to fret," Rimuru, I retorted, striving to lighten the heavy atmosphere. What about Arthur and Tessia? Ri queried, turning his gaze towards Professor Glory, seeking answers. They are both unconscious, but their injuries don't appear excessively severe. We must transport them to the infirmary with utmost urgency, Professor Glory declared urgently, her voice laden with concern. The nurses promptly arrived, and Director Cynthia hurried to our side, her eyes widening with a mixture of shock and astonishment as she took in the scene before her. She immediately engaged in conversation with Professor Glory, attempting to piece together the sequence of events. Big Brother Ri. Ellie's gaze fixated on her brother, her voice filled with a mix of hope and trepidation. I am fine, Ellie. Observe, Ri assured her, moving his left hand slightly, a small gesture to alleviate her worries. I merely require some rest, as my injury is not of grave concern. But, fear not, Ellie. Arthur and I shall recover, Ri reassured her, his voice gentle and comforting, as he patted her head gently before turning to address the rest of us. Assist the nurses in transporting Art and Tess. We nodded in unison, swiftly moving to aid the nurses in conveying Arthur and Tessia to the infirmary. Ellie followed closely behind, clutching Sylvie tightly for support. Her countenance masked with worry, her gaze darting anxiously between her brothers, a blend of fear and concern etched into her features. It was evident that she struggled to maintain composure in the face of such a dire situation. Once we had placed Arthur and Tessia upon the beds, we stepped back, allowing the medical staff ample space to attend to them. Ri remained inside, accompanied by the nurses, while the rest of us stood in tense silence within the hallway, anxiously awaiting any updates on their condition. Soon, Seal and Sylvia arrived, their faces etched with worry as they quickly made their way to us. Sylvia wasted no time in demanding to know what had happened, her voice filled with concern and urgency. Taking a deep breath, I provided a concise explanation of the events that had led to our friend's injuries. Seal and Sylvia exchanged a worried glance before turning their attention to the room where Ri, Art, and Tess were being treated. Sylvie, come here, Sylvia's voice was soothing as she extended her hand to the white fox. Without hesitation, Sylvie leapt into Sylvia's arms. Stay here, there's something we need to check, Seal said, her tone firm yet filled with an underlying concern. Seal, Sylvia, and Sylvie disappeared into the room where our friends lay, leaving us in the hallway to anxiously await any news on their condition. Time seemed to stand still as we exchanged worried glances, silently hoping for good news from the medical staff within. Arthur Lewin Pav. As my eyelids sluggishly fluttered open, I found myself staring at a ceiling that looked suspiciously foreign. The dull, relentless ache coursing through my body served as a harsh reminder of the recent events, prompting me to emit a low groan of discomfort as I gingerly propped myself up. It felt as though a herd of thundering elephants had trampled all over me. Ah, look who finally decided to rejoin the land of the conscious, my brother's voice echoed, dripping with playful mockery. Rimuru, perpetually exuding an air of nonchalance, lounged on a nearby chair, his injured hand meticulously swathed in a bandage. Summoning a feeble chuckle, I winced at the twinge of pain it provoked. Well, it seems that fainting has become my newfound talent. Perhaps I should consider a career in dramatic collapses. Rimuru chuckled warmly, his eyes crinkling with amusement. You certainly know how to make an entrance, that's for sure. Intrigued, I couldn't resist asking, so, what exactly happened? Well, as time abruptly ground to a halt, I discovered that I still possessed the ability to move. Since I couldn't draw upon the surrounding mana, I had to rely solely on the mana and ether within my core to counter Curtis's attack, Rimuru explained matter-of-factly. I see, I uttered, attempting to process the gravity of my actions. Naturally, it would have been considerably less taxing if someone had bothered to enlighten me regarding the unfolding situation. Do you have any inkling of how much ether I had to tap into just to stand up for you? Rimuru playfully scolded. Unable to suppress a sheepish smile, I responded, ha ha ha, sorry. You'd better be. I had to expend an exorbitant amount of my power to ensure your safety, Rimuru jested, feigning exasperation. Grateful, I grinned appreciatively. Don't worry, I'll strive to make it a rare occurrence. Good, because I don't think my reserves can withstand such exertions on a regular basis, Rimuru replied with an exaggerated sigh, accompanied by a mischievous grin. As our banter gradually subsided, Rimuru's mischievous gaze shifted, transforming into a more earnest expression. So, what are your impressions of that girl? He inquired, leisurely taking a sip from the mysterious concoction held within his cup. That girl. I tilted my head in momentary confusion, momentarily forgetting whom he was referring to. Kara, the girl who was against you. Rimuru clarified, a hint of curiosity in his voice. Recognition dawned on me, and I recollected our confrontation just before I lost consciousness. Ah, her. Well, she's quite striking, one of the most captivating individuals I've come across in the academy. I replied, pausing to gather my impressions. But why do you want to know about her? Are you trying to include her in your harem? Haha, funny. Rimuru rolled his eyes playfully. You know what I mean, Art. Well, she certainly possesses an air of strength. Her abilities far surpass those of other students her age. Remarkably, she relies less on mana and instead focuses on honing her physical prowess and swordsmanship, I reflected, recalling the encounter. Her skill with a blade is truly commendable. I must admit, I could have easily found myself on the receiving end of defeat had I allowed my guard to falter. I see, my brother muttered, nodding, absorbing my assessment. By the way, just so you're aware, she happens to be Kai's younger sister. My eyes widened in incredulity, and I stared at Rimuru in disbelief. You've got to be kidding me. Rimuru shook his head, a smirk dancing upon his lips. Nope, completely serious. But they bear no resemblance whatsoever. I protested, struggling to fathom the notion that the two could be related. And do we appear indistinguishable, dear sibling? Twins, might I remind you, Rimuru retorted, pointing out the obvious. Well, that's solely your fault, I retorted, a playful grin tugging at my lips. If you hadn't decided to revert to your previous form, we would have been mirror images. So, I suppose that's on you. Rimuru chuckled, raising his cup in mock salute. Touché, my dear twin. Touché. By the way, how many hours have elapsed since I lost consciousness? I inquired. Approximately 3 hours. Tess has regained consciousness as well, and she's been awake for a while, he replied, providing the requested information. A sigh of relief escaped me upon hearing the news. That's a relief to hear. What about the will beast? Ah, I nearly forgot about that, my brother replied, his tone tinged with a touch of exasperation. Are you foolish or stupid? Which one? To my knowledge, those two descriptors are synonymous, so I suppose neither, I retorted, maintaining a calm demeanor. Do you wish to be struck? His voice grew stern. I am not a masochist, so no, I have no desire for that, I replied, choosing my words carefully. Without warning, my brother's hand shot out, delivering a sharp blow to my forehead. Pain radiated through my skull, and I couldn't help but flinch, a small gasp escaping my lips. I instinctively brought my hand to my throbbing forehead, rubbing it in an attempt to alleviate the discomfort. Ow, all right, I understand, I muttered, my voice tinged with a mixture of resignation and pain. Why is that? A sigh escaped him as he shook his head. I had hoped that the impact would jolt your memory, but it appears to have failed, he said, his voice tinged with disappointment. Should I employ more force? No, I apologize. Please just tell me, I pleaded, eager to avoid another physical reprimand. Ri's demeanor softened slightly as he sighed once more. Your reckless actions led you to entrust the will beast to Tess without informing anyone or warning her about its nature. You exposed yourself and Tess to potential danger. Tess is in an unstable state because she is now at the stage of assimilation, plus her body ill-prepared to withstand the influence of the creature's will. You should have exercised caution and patience, you fool. I explicitly warned you that the first week would be chaotic, leaving us with limited opportunities to assist them. That's precisely why I refrained from bestowing the will beast upon Lily. Wait, so you haven't given it to Lily yet? I asked, seeking clarification amidst the muddled situation. That is precisely what I just stated, you imbecile, my brother replied, his voice tinged with a hint of exasperation. Anyway, our parents should arrive soon, Rimuru said, his voice trailing off as he turned toward the clock on the wall. But as Rimuru finished speaking, suddenly. Chapter 50 Team Fighting Class PT.2. An urgent knock reverberated through the infirmary, interrupting the silence. Well, speak of the devil, Rimuru remarked, a wry grin tugging at the corners of his lips. Come in, I called out, my voice tinged with a mix of anticipation and relief. The door opened with a soft creak, revealing our parents standing on the other side. Their expressions were a mixture of relief and concern, mirroring the roller coaster of emotions we had experienced during our ordeal. My mother's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she rushed forward, enveloping me in a tight hug, her embrace filled with a sense of both desperation and gratitude. Thank goodness you're okay, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, unable to conceal the genuine fear she had felt. I mustered a weak smile, my body still throbbing with residual pain. Hi Dad, I managed to greet our father, who wore a faint smile that attempted to mask the worry lines creased upon his forehead. Hello, sons, Dad replied, his gaze shifting between my brother and me, searching for reassurance in our faces. The relief in his voice was palpable, but a hint of concern still lingered beneath the surface. You seem to be in better shape than your brother, he said to Rimuru shrugged nonchalantly, shooting me a quick glance with a smirk. Of course, unlike someone I know my limits, he quipped, his voice laced with amusement. You're still get hurt, though, Lily said, pointing at Ri's hand, her voice tinged with worry. Rimuru waved off her concern with a nonchalant flick of his uninjured hand. It's nothing serious, just a minor injury. I'll be back to normal in no time, he assured her, offering a comforting pat on Ellie's head to alleviate her worries as well. Observing this exchange, our parents exchanged knowing glances, their faces reflecting a mixture of amusement and exasperation. They had long grown accustomed to Rimuru's nonchalant attitude and his ability to downplay even the most severe injuries. Boys, my mother chided, her voice carrying a blend of affection and weariness. Can't you go a single day without finding yourselves in some sort of trouble? Rimuru chuckled, while I sheepishly scratched the back of my head. Sorry, Mom, I replied, my voice laced with genuine remorse. Trouble seems to have a way of finding us. My mother sighed, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her lips. Indeed, you two have a knack for it, she conceded, her words tinged with a mixture of exasperation and pride. But even so, you usually come out unscathed, my father spoke up, his voice a blend of curiosity and concern. What happened to get you these injuries? Rimuru's mischievous grin widened as he prepared to regale them with the tale. Well, I tried experimenting with ice and fire magic, and this is what happened, he began, his voice filled with a sense of excitement and adventure. Though I will heal soon, and no, Mom, there won't be any scars, he added, a playful glint in his eyes. Silence fell upon the room, punctuated only by the soft hum of the infirmary's equipment. Each of us wore a look of genuine surprise, our thoughts racing to comprehend the audacity and recklessness of Rimuru's actions. However, amidst the astonishment, there was one individual who seemed more amused than shocked. You're not telling us that you tried a new spell, in that state, right? In the middle of battle? Lily interjected, her voice filled with disbelief. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, he admitted, scratching the back of his head. My mother's eyes widened, and she released a sigh that seemed to contain equal parts exasperation and concern. Rimuru, you need to be more careful with your magic. It's not something to be taken lightly, especially in the midst of a battle. You lack common sense, Rimuru, Seal chimed in mentally, her voice carrying a teasing undertone, her eyes sparkling as she gazed at her boyfriend. Rimuru rolled his eyes, a smirk playing on his lips. You are not one to talk, Seal. Curiosity piqued, I couldn't help but interject, eager to uncover the full story. Let me guess, she did the same thing, right? I asked, a mixture of intrigue and amusement coloring my voice. Yes, but that was worse, Rimuru confessed. No, it wasn't, Seal shot back, her voice filled with a playful defiance. Seal, we were fighting two true dragons, Rimuru countered. But we defeated them in the end, didn't we? Seal countered with a triumphant smile. Whatever. Rimuru sighed in defeat, while Seal smiled triumphantly. Before anyone had a chance to delve deeper into the matter at hand, a soft, gentle knock reverberated through the door. The door swung open slowly, revealing the figure of Director Goodsky, she entered, accompanied by none other than the Aerolith royal family and Tess. This. The unexpected arrival elicited immediate reactions from my parents. My father took a step back, his eyes widening in surprise, while my mother couldn't contain a gasp, her hand instinctively flying to cover her mouth. The sight before them was nothing short of astonishing. Leading the way was Alduin Aerolith, Tessa's father and the former king of Elenwar. With a genuine smile on his face, he reached out and firmly grasped my father's hand, shaking it with a sense of familiarity. Pleased to finally make your acquaintance, Mr. and Mrs. Lewin, he greeted warmly, his voice filled with sincerity. We have always wanted to meet the parents of Art and Ri. It is such a pleasure to finally have the opportunity to meet you in person, added Muriel Aerolith, the former queen of Elenwar and Tessia's mother. Her voice carried a gentle warmth, and she moved forward to embrace my mother, who still stood there in disbelief, her hand still covering her mouth. Muriel then shifted her attention to Ellie, the youngest member of our family. She gracefully knelt down, her elegant gown cascading around her, and gently patted Ellie's head. And you must be Ri and Art's little sister, she said with a soft smile, her eyes twinkling with affection. You're absolutely adorable. Greetings. I go by Virian Aerolith, and I had the honor of being your son's former teacher. He shot me and Ri a cheeky grin as he grasped my father's hand. Ri and I exchanged helpless smiles as our parents' gazes switched back and forth between the Aerolith family and us. Meanwhile, bursting into the room with boundless energy, Aya made her grand entrance, her voice filled with uncontainable excitement. Aaliyah followed closely behind, her own eyes sparkling with anticipation. We're here too, Aya exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious as she joined the gathering, adding another layer of vitality to the room. Rimuru Pav. Hello. My name is Tessia Aerolith. It's a pleasure to meet you. Please take care of me. I'm Rimuru and Arthur's childhood FF friend, and I'm not sure if they talked about me with you, but I really am. Tessia stuttered nervously, her voice trembling a bit. She twirled a lock of her hair, desperately trying to tame it while her face turned redder than a ripe tomato. It was clear that she wanted to make a good impression. My parents exchanged a surprised glance, but my mom couldn't hide her amusement. She knelt down to Tessia's eye level, her voice gentle and soothing. I see. Well, aren't you one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen, she said, her voice soft and soothing. Please take good care of my son, Art. As you may know, he's the type to get into trouble a lot, so it'll really help me if I know he has someone like you next to him, now and in the future. My mother shoots her a wink as she strokes Tessia's hair. Not sure if Tessia truly absorbed anything my mom said, but she seemed to be overanalyzing every word. Her eyes widened, and her face, already red, turned a shade brighter. She responded with a voice that had gone up an octave, practically squealing, why yes. She beamed, nodding like crazy. Meanwhile, my dad watched the whole exchange with a mix of curiosity and amusement. I couldn't help but chuckle, sharing a knowing look with Art, who rolled his eyes in exasperation. Gramps settled himself on the edge of Art's bed. So, how are you two brats feeling? He asked, his voice gruff but caring. We're good. I only ended up with burns on my left hand, I replied, raising my bandaged hand, the white gauze standing out against my skin. Hey, I could still take you down in a fight, old man, Art chimed in, mischief dancing in his eyes as he leaned against the bed. By the way, Ri, Aya chimed in, mischief gleaming in her eyes as she turned her attention to Seal, who stood beside me. Her voice brimmed with curiosity and a playful undertone. May I know who this lovely lady next to you is? She smiled as if she already knew the answer. Seal, exuding an air of tranquility and sporting a gentle smile, introduced herself with poise. Please accept my apologies for not making my acquaintance earlier. I am Seal, Rimuru's girlfriend, she stated, her words infused with a palpable joy that illuminated her eyes. The Aerolith family, taken aback and intrigued, redirected their gazes to Seal and me. Aaliyah couldn't contain her joy and beamed from ear to ear. Wow, Ri, you never told us you had a girlfriend. Congrats, little bro, she exclaimed, a warm smile lighting up her face. Gramps let out a booming laugh, a twinkle of amusement lighting up his eyes. Well, looks like my boy is growing up, huh? He said, his voice brimming with pride. Muriel couldn't contain her excitement and spoke up, her eyes shining with anticipation. Oh, Rimuru, that's fantastic news. I'm thrilled for you both. Ain't nothing sweeter than young love blossoming. Alduin chimed in with a friendly smile, adding his own words of congratulations. I'm happy for you too, Rimuru. Seal seems like a real catch, he remarked, his gaze warm and welcoming. Thank you, guys, I replied sincerely. Aya leaned in closer, practically buzzing with curiosity. Her eyes widened, demanding all the juicy details. Come on, spill the tea. How long have you two been together? Who made the first move? And how did it all go down? We want all the particulars. She urged, her excitement palpable. My mom, who had been quietly observing the whole exchange, decided to join the conversation. Now that you mention it, you never told us how you two ended up together. Realizing that we were delving into personal territory, I swiftly changed the subject to a safer one. Oh, but you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Lily yet, have you? I said, motioning towards Lily, who stood nervously on the other side of Art's bed, her fingers fidgeting with anxiety. Lily, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? I'm sorry, Lily, but I don't wish to delve into this topic. I promise I'll make it up to you later, I silently vowed. The royal family's attention shifted to Lily, their curiosity piqued. Lily, feeling a tad overwhelmed by the sudden spotlight, shot me a quick glance before clearing her throat and introducing herself. Hello there. I'm Lilia Helstia. I share a close bond with Rimuru, Arthur, and Tessia. Oh, and I also serve as the vice president of the student council. It's truly an honor to meet all of you, she stammered, bowing respectfully. The members of the royal family exchanged meaningful glances, their approving expressions speaking volumes. Gramps, with his kind and parental smile, chimed in, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Lilia. Tess has spoken highly of you. Muriel nodded in agreement. Indeed, Tess has mentioned you on a few occasions. Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her as the royal family welcomed her with kindness. I'm glad to hear that, she replied, feeling more at ease. As Aaliyah approached Lily, her eyes sparkled with admiration. Wow, Lilia, you've turned into an amazing young woman, Aaliyah exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine admiration. And your strength, reaching the light orange stage at just 12 years old, is seriously impressive. You must have worked your butt off to get where you are now. Aaliyah praised, affectionately patting Lily's head. Blushing at the compliment, Lily expressed her gratitude. Thanks, Aaliyah. It means a lot coming from a Lance. I always try to improve my skills and abilities, she replied humbly. The conversation then shifted to lighter topics as we all chatted and caught up with each other. My parents were deep in conversation with Alduin and Muriel, while Gramps and Tess got into a lively chat with Art. Meanwhile, Seal, Lily, Ellie, Aya, and Aaliyah formed a little group, occasionally including me in their banter. But seriously, Seal, I still can't believe Rimuru snagged such a gorgeous girlfriend like you, Aya exclaimed mischievously, a playful glimmer in her eyes. And here I am, your older sister, still flying solo. Life's just not fair, she added, chuckling. I responded to Aya's playful ribbing with a sarcastic smile. Well, Aya, life's not always rainbows and unicorns, I quipped, earning a mock frown from her and laughter from the rest. Aya playfully poked my cheek, her mischievous grin lighting up her face. Why did you have to be born at this exact time? She teased, her voice laced with jest. If only you were a bit older, maybe I would have stolen you for myself. Or if I were your age, she added, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Aya. Aaliyah let out a piercing scream and grabbed hold of Aya's ear like a vice. Aya's face twisted in pain, and she yelped, desperately trying to break free from Aaliyah's iron grip. Aya winced and let out another yelp as Aaliyah's grip tightened, causing her to squirm even more. Ouch. What's the big deal? I didn't say anything wrong. Or maybe you're just JEA. Aya's words were abruptly cut off by another sharp tug on her ear, intensifying her discomfort. Ouch. Okay, I'm sorry, Aaliyah. Aya pleaded, flashing Aaliyah a sheepish grin. Aaliyah let out a deep sigh, finally releasing her hold on Aya's ear. The poor ear now sported a fiery shade of red, throbbing with pain. Aya winced and complained about Aaliyah's alleged meanness, rubbing her ear in discomfort, which only made the rest of us burst into laughter. dash 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 dash. Kyle Flandier Pav. The monstrous creature unleashed an earth-shaking roar, its thunderous sound reverberating through the air as my sword cleaved through its impenetrable hide. With a swift and precise motion, my blade traced a deep, crimson path down its chest, spilling forth a torrent of blood that arced through the air with a visceral fury. The ground beneath us was instantly transformed into a macabre canvas, painted in a thick, glistening coat of the creature's life essence. Staggering backward, the beast's pain-filled eyes widened in a moment of shock before it succumbed to its wounds, collapsing heavily upon the earth with a resounding thud. Turning my gaze in search of my sister, I spotted her silhouette in the distance, a vision of lethal grace as she unleashed a relentless barrage of fiery arrows upon the remaining beasts. Each arrow found its mark with lethal accuracy, her movements a fluid and deadly dance of destruction. It was a symphony of chaos, an art mastered through years of relentless battles against these abominations. As the final beast fell to the ground, defeated and lifeless, a collective sigh of relief escaped our lips. "Well done, sister," I breathed, my voice filled with a mixture of exhaustion and admiration. She offered me a blood-streaked smile, her face adorned with a mixture of sweat and battle scars, yet her eyes gleamed with triumphant resolve. "Well done to you too, brother," she said as she sat on the floor, her arms behind her back, seeking comfort in the cool earth beneath her. Joining her in this respite, I sank wearily to the ground, feeling the fatigue begin to claim my body. Yet, the knowledge that we couldn't afford to rest for long lingered in our minds. The shadows still held the potential for lurking horrors, waiting to pounce upon us in our vulnerable state. The beasts are acting strange again, and they also seem more powerful, I observed, furrowing my brow as I pondered the unsettling changes. Kyla nodded in agreement, her expression mirroring my concern. "Indeed, they bear resemblance to the creatures we confronted within that dungeon," she remarked, her voice tinged with a mixture of caution and curiosity. The recollection of that fateful expedition, where we journeyed alongside Rimuru, Seal, and Sylvia, flooded my mind. Vivid memories resurfaced, compelling me to recall the peculiar energy that saturated the dungeon's air and the uncanny conduct displayed by our comrades. Rimuru, in particular, had abandoned his usual composed demeanor, brimming with an almost childlike exuberance that contrasted sharply with his typically measured disposition. I distinctly remembered his insistence that we halt our progress, his insistence that the dungeon posed a level of danger beyond our comprehension. "Do you have any theories, brother?" Kyla's voice sliced through my ruminations, anchoring me back to the present. Shaking my head, I conceded my current lack of insight. Yet, an unshakable intuition persisted, a conviction that Rimuru held the answers we sought. His vast knowledge surpassed that of even the most esteemed monarchs of our continent. If only we could unravel the enigma that lay within his mind. "When we return, we must consult Rimuru," I finally spoke, summoning the resolve to push myself upright and extending a hand to assist Kyla in rising from the ground. "For now, let us remain focused on completing this treacherous dungeon." "You are right," Kyla concurred, accepting my offered hand and ascending gracefully to her feet. With our swords raised high, we pressed on through the dimly lit dungeon, our footsteps resounding against the cold, moss-covered stone walls. The path we followed seemed eerily devoid of the usual traps and obstacles one would expect to encounter in an A-rank dungeon, making our progress surprisingly smooth and unnervingly easy. "Well, this was easier than I thought," Kyla remarked, her voice tinged with a hint of skepticism. "Indeed," I replied, my senses heightened as a gnawing unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Inhaling deeply, I attempted to shake off the foreboding sensation that crept over me. As we neared the imposing door leading to the boss room, I exchanged a wary glance with Kyla, a silent understanding passing between us that something was amiss. With a steadying breath, I exerted my strength to push open the weighty door, revealing a scene that sent shivers down our spines. As we stepped into the room, our eyes widened in shock. Instead of the fearsome beast we anticipated, the chamber lay in absolute ruins. The walls bore deep scorch marks, evidence of a cataclysmic event, while debris littered the floor, creating a treacherous obstacle course. An oppressive sense of danger hung heavy in the air, suffusing the chamber like a dense, suffocating fog. This is not right," Kyla murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, her gaze fixed on the devastation before us. I nodded in agreement, my grip tightening around my sword as we cautiously advanced into the midst of the wreckage. Wait, is that a tunnel? Kyla's sharp eyes caught sight of a hidden passageway tucked away in a corner of the room. With cautious steps, we made our way towards it, navigating carefully over the rubble and keeping a watchful eye for any potential traps. The tunnel was narrow, only allowing enough space for one person to pass through at a time. We exchanged a determined glance, mutually recognizing the need to proceed cautiously. And so, with hearts pounding and breaths held, we entered the foreboding tunnel. The air grew colder and more oppressive the further we ventured into its depths, the walls seeming to close in on us like a vice. Finally, we emerged from the tunnel into what appeared to be a makeshift camp. Like the boss room, the camp lay in ruins, with tents torn apart, supplies scattered haphazardly, and an air of desolation hanging over the once lively space. We cautiously approached the camp, our senses sharp and on high alert, ready for whatever danger may lurk in the shadows. As we moved closer, I noticed that not only the tents were torn and about to collapse, but some places in the camp were burned, which most likely indicated the use of fire magic. The ground beneath our feet was uneven and covered with debris, making our footsteps sound louder than we would have preferred. My sister's voice trembled with fear as she whispered, "We need to exercise caution, Kyle. There's an unsettling aura emanating from this place." The whites of her eyes expanded with horror as she suddenly exclaimed, "Kyle, watch your back." Reacting swiftly, I whirled around just in the nick of time to evade an oncoming attack, but not without consequence. The razor-sharp edge of a sword grazed my arm, igniting an intense, searing pain that surged through my body. Clenching my teeth, I fought to push past the discomfort, my weapon poised to fend off our assailant. How on earth did he maneuver his way to us unheard? I pondered, my heart pounding in my chest, fueled by a surge of adrenaline as I contemplated how our foe had managed to approach undetected. A deluge of questions flooded my mind amidst the chaos, but now was not the time for rumination. I had to concentrate on the imminent threat before me. "Kyle, are you all right?" My sister's voice cut through the cacophony, infused with genuine concern. With a resolute expression etched on her face, she conjured a wall of scorching flames between me and our attacker, resolute in her determination to shield me from harm. "It's merely a scratch, I'll manage," I reassured her, my voice strained yet unwavering. "Let's deal with this guy first. It looks like he's not alone, someone has cast a spell on him," Kyla said, her eyes widening with realization. "A spell?" I queried, grappling to fully comprehend the situation before us. "Yes, when I conjured the fire wall between you and the attacker, I saw a barrier going around it, but he wasn't the one who activated it," Kyla elucidated. Pardon me if my description lacks detail, even I struggle to fathom the intricacies of what transpired. Acknowledging her explanation with a nod, I refocused my attention on the task at hand. No need for apologies. We must simply neutralize them. Together. Kyla. "Do you believe they hail from a nefarious guild, perhaps?" Kyla inquired. "It's a plausible supposition, but we cannot allow it to intimidate us. Our focus must be on subduing them," I replied, preparing to breach the barrier enveloping our adversary. "Ah, here I thought this endeavor would lack challenge." I discerned a voice, undoubtedly belonging to the individual who had attacked me. "Tell me, you brutish Decathenas, are you responsible for this debacle?" The attacker's voice dripped with arrogance. "Oi, Belfort, dispatch them expeditiously," another voice reverberated from the shadows, confirming our suspicion that we faced a multitude of adversaries. "Ready?" I inquired of Kyla, ensuring her readiness for our planned strategy. "As prepared as I can be," she responded, her grip on her weapon tightening, determination etched across her countenance.